Well, welcome to Fort Mackinac. My name is Greg, this is John, and this is the 6-pound cannon that we are going to be firing for you. Now, why do you think it's called a 6-pounder?
That's how big the ball is.
That's how heavy the ball is, that's right. It's designed to fire a cannonball that weighs 6 pounds. It's about 3.5 inches in diameter, and we could send that 6-pound ball about a mile. It's about this gun's maximum effective range. Just for reference, Round Island there across the passage is about a mile away. So that's about how far we can actually fire a cannonball if we really wanted to. However, it's very important to remember that although Fort Mackinac was open as a fort for 115 years between 1780 and 1895, of that 115 years, there were only a few hours when there's any sort of military action taking place anywhere near this fort. The rest of the time, there's a whole lot of nothing going on here. That's especially true of the 1880s, the time period that John and I are addressing. At that point, they did still have cannons here. There are still soldiers here. The fort is still open. But it's actually a national park headquarters in the 1880s. And there's not much going on here. People generally don't go around attacking national parks. And so the fort has no reason to actually fire its guns in anger. The soldiers are not firing for combat. No one's trying to come and capture Mackinac Island. And as a result, they don't even have to drill with the cannons. They don't have to practice for combat either. But if they're not firing in combat and they're not firing to practice for combat, why do you think they would fire their cannons? Because they did so regularly.
For fun.
Not for fun. Army doesn't like that.
Warning shot?
A warning shot for what?
Enemies?
Nobody's coming to attack this place. It's a resort. It's just as much a resort as it is today.
Something to do.
Not time. Not for demonstration. How about just for ceremony? They use it as part of their daily ritual. Every morning at reveille, when the flag goes up, they fire a cannon. Every evening at retreat, when the flag came down, they fire the cannon again. So the cannon sort of began and ended the workday for the soldiers. Don't worry, it's not so incredibly dangerous. They couldn't get that. They'd also use it for special occasions. If someone important came to visit, or if there were a national holiday, they'd fire the cannon in honor of those special events. So they end up firing the guns on a regular basis, probably more than once or twice a day. But in all of those instances, they're just firing gunpowder. They want to make some noise. They're not firing cannonballs on any of those occasions. They just want to make some noise and smoke as part of their daily ceremony. Now to fire one of those blank salutes, 2 or 3 soldiers would come up here. One of them would use a leather patch, just like I have here, to cover up the touch hole at the rear of the barrel. And one of the other men would do the cleaning, like John's going to be doing. Now he started out by running down the worm. That's a big corkscrew that he's twisting around. And that's designed to grab solid debris from the breech of the gun. If that's burning debris, we want to get it out of there before we load in the gunpowder. We don't want to load in our charge on top of something that might set it off prematurely. Now, going back for some more. But the next tool is further designed to reduce the chance of the cannon going off prematurely. Now, John has run down the wet swab here. You saw him dip it in a bucket of water. We have moisture in the cannon barrel now. That's a sure way to put out any sparks. But you also heard that big thunk as he pulled it out of the muzzle. That was a vacuum collapsing. We also deprived the sparks of the oxygen that they need to continue burning. So at this point, the cannon should be clean and safe to load. John has our powder charge. It's about 3 ounces of gunpowder. It's a very small charge comparatively. In the 1880s, they'd be firing about 10 ounces of powder. But John's run that down the barrel with this curved safety rammer, which you'll notice allows him to stand off to the side. This is another modern safety feature that they did not use in the 1880s. Back then, they had a straight rammer, but that forced them to stand quite a bit closer to the muzzle of the gun. And were something to go wrong, it's not an especially safe place to be, so we like to be off to the side just in case. John's now going to take a brass spike and run that down the touch hole. That's going to tear open the powder charge and expose the gunpowder to a friction primer, which is what will actually set off the cannon. That friction primer is a brass tube full of gunpowder. It has a friction-sensitive chemical on top, and there's a pin stuck through that. When you pull out that pin, it generates a spark that burns down onto the big charge, and that explodes, and that's where we get the noise and the smoke for our salute. They're very effective little devices. just have to hook up a lanyard, which is what John's doing now, and they're ready to go. So at this point, we've clean loaded and primed the gun. It's now ready to fire. Now might be the time to cover your ears. This will be just a little loud. So if everyone's ears are covered, there are only 2 commands, and they are ready. Fire!
Wow.
All right, there you have a cannon salute to welcome you here to the 4th